Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Urvashi Sharma, Associate Professor, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication. Today we'll study changing Indian media scenario. So let's begin. Advent of electronic and online media. Despite the foreign notion claiming the collapse of print industry in 21st century, India is still holding its position in revenue generation through print media and the scope for print journalism in the economy. Nevertheless, there are specific challenges, both old and new, that exist in print journalism and requires introspection. The first challenge in print journalism is competition, which is relatively high as compared to the global markets. India faces a significant challenge in acquiring information through different news agencies, which is costly and challenging to manage compared to the West. Unlike the Western news agencies that are well equipped with the resources and the capital, the Indian news agencies cannot match the benchmarks set by them. Also, with competition within information curation, it becomes a challenging task for the Indian news agencies such as PTI, UNI, and ANI to acquire complete information. The second challenge that exists in the terms of medium. Print is in comparison with radio and television and digital media requires the consumer to be literate enough to decode the information. There has also been a shift in the consumption of information from print to electronic media due to radio and television devices availability in a cost effective manner. It has posed a challenge to print journalism in retaining the readership, especially in the urban areas where per capita income is favorable for the electronic consumption of information. In addition to that, print being a limited medium in terms of its design, it fails to incorporate multicultural information which can easily be provided by electronic media. Also, with the coming of internet, competition has further increased regarding print journalism. One of the biggest challenges that can be seen in print in comparison with other forms of media is its growing reliance on advertisement as a primary source of revenue generation. With this aspect, the idea of public welfare in print journalism becomes distorted and is replaced primarily by market-driven mechanism. Unlike the other forms of media that have identified alternative source of revenue generation, such as OTT platform on digital media for revenue generation, print media is still concentrated to few sources. It poses a significant challenge in terms of its future path of progress, especially in India's case. Another essential factor to highlight in print journalism is the rising production cost in terms of newsprint, ink, printing machinery, etc. Print media requires a healthy circulation figure to bear with these production costs. This challenge is quickly taken care of by big newspaper firms operating within the Indian market. However, small newspapers rely primarily on government support or join hands with a big firm to operate within the respective geographical area. As a result, news coverage objectives become predominantly commercial and concentrated. Challenges posed by electronic media. First basis of comparison is meaning. If we talk about print media, it is a form of mass media that delivers news and information through printed publications like newspapers, magazines, books, etc. If we look at electronic media, it refers to that form of mass media which creates, delivers, and accesses news and information through electronic energy like radio, television, films, etc. In terms of literacy, one should be literate enough to read and understand the information provided in print media. On the other hand, literacy is not the primary requirement, as anyone who watches television or hears information on radio can comprehend it if he understands the language. Third is the deadline. As far as deadline or periodicity is concerned, the deadline exists in relation to the collection of news. For example, if if we talk about the deadline, the news stories must be submitted to the news desk latest by the evening so that it can be edited and then sent to the designing department to be put on the paper and then set for publishing. In case of electronic media, no such deadline is required because incident that happens or news as it takes place or as it is revealed, it is updated anytime. Live discussions are not possible in print media, whereas the possibility of live discussion is very much there on television and radio. In comparison to the coverage of print media is comparatively less in terms of electronic media. The language is reader friendly in print media, even though if it's an English newspaper or a Hindi newspaper or any other regional newspaper, the writer or the reporter makes sure that he uses a simple language to put his message across to the reader. Whereas in case of electronic media, the language is more viewer friendly, which explains why the thing is happening, giving adding a new perspective to it. Updation, the periodicity of say newspaper is one day, which is 24 hours. It takes 24 hours to be updated. In case of a magazine, it depends on whether it's a weekly magazine, fortnightly magazine, quarterly magazine, biannually magazine, or annual magazine. In case of electronic media, the updation takes place frequently. It is the things are updated as they happen. Challenges posed by digital media. Fast update. Digital media gives fast update and enables us to be aware of the latest happenings, whereas with print media we have to wait till next day. This makes it easy to spread the important news amongst public. Two-way communication. Digital media is a two-way communication. Consumer can share their opinion, thoughts and feedback in an instant. This also gives consumer a sense of community and there is no or delayed feedback in case of newspaper. Eco-friendly. It is eco-friendly whereas print media requires paper that is harvested from trees. The famous newspapers are also establishing their own online news portals and e-newspapers. This is because of the growing importance of digital media. Easy search. We can search for a piece of information easily on digital media. Revenue generation. Digital media platforms can generate revenue from old content too. So they'll get more revenue and hence can invest more in the quality of the content. Smartphone users are increasing rapidly, and so many digital media platforms are offering content for free due to advertisements. So people can easily read and watch content without spending much. We have seen that the biggest challenge the print media is posing is in terms of readership and in terms of revenue generation. Where print media continues to rely on the old model of revenue generation, which is maximum through advertisements and then through the subscription, the electronic and the online media have opted to various avenues like sponsored programs, advertisements, subscription charges. Keeping this in mind, the newspapers, in order to be popular amongst the generation, which is a smartphone generation, have developed their own e-newspapers and also have developed their apps so that they can match the needs of the smartphone generation. And after COVID, it is seen that the online apps of these newspapers, which were earlier free of cost, now for some important stories or some in-depth analysis of the story or some unique stories, the subscription fees is made mandatory. So slowly and steadily, these newspapers have also adopted a digital mode or a digital means in terms of apps and e-newspaper for the revenue generation. So the print media has come a long way since it first began in 1780 in India through Hickey, and now it has been working and adapting itself to the number of changes and challenges that it faces from different media. Thank you.